Long ago, high in the mountains of Tibet, the world was very different from what we know today. The land was strong and wild. The air was cold. The mountains stood like giants, silent and powerful. People lived close to nature, and they believed that the world was full of unseen forces. They believed in spirits that lived in rivers, in the sky, and deep inside the mountains. There were no Buddhist temples. There were no monks in red robes. There was no quiet meditation. Life was full of strength, but not always full of peace. At that time, people followed an ancient religion known as Bon. It was deeply connected to nature and to the idea that the world was controlled by powerful spirits. People prayed, made offerings, and tried to live in harmony with these forces. But life was often uncertain. Fear and conflict were common, and there was no clear path to inner calm. Everything began to change with the rise of one man. His name was Songtsen Gampo. He was not just a king, he was a leader with a vision. He wanted to make Tibet stronger, but not only through power and war. He believed that Tibet needed knowledge, it needed culture, and most importantly, it needed peace. Songtsen Gampo looked beyond his own land. He understood that if Tibet wanted to grow, it needed to connect with the outside world. So he made an important decision. He formed alliances through marriage. Both women brought something that would change Tibet forever. They brought Buddhism. They brought sacred texts, ideas, and most importantly, statues of the Buddha. These were not just objects, they were symbols of a new way of thinking, a way of understanding life, suffering, and peace. At first, these ideas were new and unfamiliar to the people of Tibet. But slowly, they began to spread. The king understood that if this new belief was to grow, it needed a home, a place where people could come, learn, and feel something different. And so he decided to build a temple. But building a temple in Tibet was not simple. There is an old story, a legend that people still tell today. They believed that the land of Tibet was like a giant body, a sleeping spirit or demon that lay across the mountains. According to this belief, certain places in the land held powerful energy, and if something important was built in the wrong place, it could bring imbalance. So the king and his advisors searched carefully. They chose a location in the heart of what is now Lhasa. But there was a problem. The land there was not solid. It was a lake. Instead of choosing another place, they decided to change the land itself. Stone by stone, piece by piece, people worked to fill the lake. They carried earth, rocks, and wood. It was slow, difficult work, but they continued day after day until the ground became strong. Only then did the construction begin. This temple would become known as Jokhang Temple. It was not built by one group of people. It was a meeting of cultures. Craftsmen and workers came from Tibet, Nepal, and China. Each brought their own style, their own knowledge, their own traditions. This made the temple unique. It was not just Tibetan. It was not just Chinese. It was not just Nepalese. It was something new. Inside the temple, they placed one of the most sacred statues, a statue of the Buddha that had been brought by Princess Wencheng. This statue became the heart of the temple. People came to see it, to pray, to feel something they could not explain. And slowly, Tibet began to change. Buddhism did not replace everything immediately. Change took time. But the ideas of compassion, patience, and inner peace started to grow. Monks began to appear. Teachings were shared. People started to look inward, not just outward. Tibet was still strong, but now it was also calm. The temple became more than just a building. It became a center of life. A place where people could come to find answers. A place where silence had meaning. A place where the outside world felt far away. Years passed, then centuries. Empires rose and fell. Leaders changed. The world outside Tibet continued to move and change, but the temple remained. Even today, more than 1,000 years later, people still travel long distances to visit it. Some walk for days, some bow with every step, slowly moving forward in prayer. For them, this place is not just history. It is alive. It is a connection to something deeper. The story of this temple is not only about religion, it is about transformation. A king who wanted something more for his people. Two women who brought new ideas from distant lands. And thousands of people who worked together to build something that would last for centuries. It shows us something important. Big changes do not happen all at once. They begin with small decisions. One idea, one step, one moment. And from that, something greater can grow.